We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. France now has the youngest ever and first openly gay prime minister. So imagine how LGBTQ plus America is reacting.
A Republican supermajority and an embittered governor prepare to wreak havoc on Florida's LGBTQ plus.
While many things are already creating fear and uncertainty in the country, the list has got another addition. Swatting. What is that?
You have just minutes to get your tickets as Posa and Seth Sikes come to Sunshine Cathedral Center for Performing Arts this weekend. I'm channeling Joan Rivers.
Stonewall Pride is 5 months away, and it all got complicated at Wilton Manors City Commission meeting last night. Queer News Tonight has every detail.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. Available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It is Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
Hola, mi gente. I am your anchor at Queer News Tonight, FayWhat? And this evening we bring you the news of and the perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission, support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
So let's begin by welcoming our anchors. Let's welcome TriniDaddy. He currently is a violinist and pianist with the Miami City Ballet and is the program director for the Seminole Theater Players in Homestead, Florida. Welcome back, Trini. How are you, Papi?
I am doing great. Happy New Year to everybody.
Can you still say that?
That's what I was going to ask. I don't know. Is there cut off? Forget it.
Well, you didn't see us, so you can say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Happy
Papi.
New Year. Wonderful.
Yes.
So if anybody is into classical music, the South Florida Symphony will be at Parker Playhouse next Wednesday, January 17th. At 7:30 p.m. And also, if you're a fan of Johnny Mathis, I'll be with him at Kravitz Center on Saturday. He is 88 years old, and I remember playing with him 20 years ago.
Shut up.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Okay.
And
So who is this Mathis person you speak about?
Johnny Mathis?
Who is he? Like, what does he sing?
Misty?
Jan Cesar, Wonderful, Wonderful.
Wow.
Okay, it sounds wonderful.
He was big in the 60s, 50s,
50s and 60s.
50s, 60s, yeah.
Yeah, in the 70s too. I mean, people are still
Yeah.
singing him now and
that's
covering his songs.
amazing.
So 88, like I'm excited to
He's
see him
not
again
bad.
and see, gives me some hope.
Oh my God, take pictures, please. We want to see them.
All right.
All right, next up, let's welcome John Hayden, my brother from another mother. He's a journalist for 29 years, and we're going to get to that in a second. He is now senior reporter for Out South Florida. You can follow him on Instagram at John Hayden Journalist for breaking news and live reports from all community events. Welcome back, John, and happy anniversary,
Thank
kid.
you so much.
Oh my God, so it's 29 years.
29 years. I started at WXIN Fox 59 in Indianapolis.
Sounds
and
cold.
It was, no, wait till I get later in my resume. Then there was Knoxville. Then there was Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Cold.
That's cold.
Oh my God.
And then I've been here 19 years.
Wow.
And this is home. And, I worked in entertainment down here at the Fox station. And now I'm here at Out South Florida and here at Happening Out. And the way my career has gone, totally different in
Really?
these last 3 years. And I have so many people, especially here to thank, especially you.
Oh, well, I adore you. Adore you. Here's 250 more. All right? Love John. Next, let's welcome Hunter Ohanian. Did I say that right, Hunter?
You sure did.
Okay, all right, because I don't ever want to mess up somebody's name. You know, Hunter Ohanian or Hanian. Ohanian sounds better too. Maybe I'll change your last name. All right. Hunter has been working in the arts and LGBTQ fields for more than 30 years. He has led the only LGBTQ art museum and also one of the largest LGBTQ archives that is so important. He's an expert in gay history, culture, and politics. Good evening, Hunter. Welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, actually, in person. You've got all this history and knowledge in you.
Well, you know, it's important. You know, as one generation moves on, it's important for the next generation to see what was there. Just like you were working with
William Mathis.
Johnny Mathis.
Johnny.
It's great to be able to see these generations. And so if we preserve our history, then I think we get to really see a lot about what happened.
For sure, Hunter, and especially here in Florida, where they're trying to erase us and erase, Black history and erase LGBTQ history. We need to put you in a bubble.
Well.
Okay. Well, we'll work on that after the show.
Wait, are we kidnapping Hunter after the show? Okay.
And we're putting him in a bubble. I'm just saying. Next up, let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro. Gregg's 9th book, Refrain in Light, was selected for the Poetry Mutual 10 Best Poetry Books of 2023. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, runs in a variety of print and online publications. Hello, Gregory.
Hello. At one of my celebrity interviews, actually, I interviewed Johnny Mathis twice.
Hey!
And we actually got to go backstage after his Kravis show a few years ago, and my husband got to tell him how much he loves him, and then Johnny kissed him on the cheek.
Oh my God.
It was very sweet.
That's
and then did you
sweet.
punch him and say, hands off my man?
Right?
Well, come Saturday.
Oh my God, you should.
I will
You
take
should.
it.
I mean, come on. Everybody wants to see Jimmy Mathis. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America, well, we're diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. Let's begin by queering up the world view. Gabriel Attal becomes France's first gay prime minister. This week, Gabriel Attal was named France's youngest ever prime minister. President Emmanuel Macron says he seeks a fresh start for the rest of his term amid growing political pressure from the far right. Attal, 34, rose to prominence as the government spokesman and educational minister and has polled as the most popular minister in the outgoing government. His predecessor, Elizabeth Borne, resigned Monday following recent political turmoil over an immigration law that strengthens the government's ability to deport foreigners. He is France's first openly gay prime minister. Macron's office announced the appointment in a statement stating that the president will work with Attal to name a new government in the coming days, though some key ministers are expected to continue in their posts. Macron's critics from both left and right are taking aim at Attal for his limited experience, but President Emmanuel Macron has congratulated Attal in his X post and referenced 2017. It was the year when Macron shook up French politics and shot to a surprise victory as France's youngest ever president on a pro-business centrist platform aimed at reviving one of the world's biggest economies. Attal, a former member of the Socialist Party, joined Macron's newly created political movement in 2016 and never looked back. Attal is just a handful of world leaders who are from the LGBTQ plus community. It is a proud and inspiring moment for not just the queer community of France, but for the global LGBTQ plus community. You know, we're always sitting at this table saying representation matters, you know? Look at this hunk representing us as the new prime minister, you know? So Attal says that his Jewish ancestry has shaped him into the person that he is, you know? I think he's an incredible addition, fresh blood, right? Something new. And, it's all about just seeing the future, right? And showing that France has a powerful future and an LGBTQ plus leader at the forefront of it. You know, with all of France's issues, right? This has to feel like a breath of fresh air to some of those LGBTQ folks in France that are seeing, wow, look at me, I'm represented. I'll be thought about in the future, you know? So I think this is a huge accomplishment for France, for Attal, and for LGBTQ plus in general.
You know, the political situation in France is teetering right now. We've got a fascist government in Italy, in the Netherlands. They just elected a very extreme far-right government, and France is right there. They And there's no real natural successor to Macron. They thought he was going to barely hold on in his re-election. He's cruised to victory, but his majority in the parliament is not great. So to bring this guy in is incredibly helpful. He was the Minister of Education, as we noted in the story. So it's good to see that this, liberal socialist democracy is promoting LGBTQ rights, among others. So I'm happy to see that. And, it's just a side note, Macron, he's term limited, so he needs a successor. So this guy is great. But he was really hot back when he was elected. And now we've got this guy who's just a political stud. So
yeah,
I'm here to say bonjour, monsieur.
Oh. Is he like the French Buttigieg, do you think?
I think he's even
Buttigieg. Hunter, you were saying?
Well, it's so amazing to see the photograph of the two of them together. I mean, there's like one handsome man, and then there's an older handsome man. And it's just amazing. I mean, time will tell how this government will do. Yeah. And certainly what's been going on with the rise of conservatives and then also with the impact of the wars that we've been having and that Western Europeans that have been pulled into so many of those, as we have as well too. Right. The other thing that's really interesting too, and we better get ready for this, but the last prime minister left France because of dealing with immigration, and that is a problem all over Europe, as it's a problem here. A problem here as well. And it seems to be such a core issue for so many individuals.
And if I can just tag on, I'm sorry, Greg, just the EU Parliament elections are coming up, and we will see pretty much where France stands on who they send to the EU Parliament, because that's going to say a lot. Because there are people in several EU countries that are running to be in the Parliament because they hate the Parliament. They want to be part of it to destroy it.
Bring it down,
much like many Republicans here. But so we're going to get a really good view of exactly where the continent stands on liberal democracies here in just a few weeks.
Yeah, well, Attal has definitely an uphill battle, and we'll definitely be watching it every step of the way. Anything you want to say, Trini?
Yeah, it's just really interesting, like from a historical point of view, to watch the rise of conservatism in all of these countries that, when we were kids, like, we thought of the French as being like, they're so liberal, they sleep with everybody, they've been bisexual for years.
They're naked everywhere they go.
They French kiss, And then, so, like, when their conservative party came to power, it was like, whoa, in France? Like, that's so weird, And then you've got Hungary and Poland and Brazil and Argentina, but you see how they're all flipping. Right. And then some of them are going into their kind of conservative MAGA stage. I think a lot of this has to do with Trump.
Of course.
And how it's
started with him. He opened the door.
From America, how we're setting this. And, it's interesting to see what will happen looking back 10 years on what our election is going to do for the rest of the country and how we're all influencing each other.
Yeah.
So good on you, Mr. Gay Prime Minister.
Well, this story did make me hope that someday our leaders will be as progressive as Macron. And Biden himself does deserve credit for appointing Buttigieg, as you mentioned. He was only 39 when he was appointed in 2021. And I do wish Attal luck. And I have read that he has been receiving both anti-gay and, as you mentioned, anti-Semitic hatred. So I wish him a lot of luck, and I hope he's safe.
Absolutely. Well, now we queer up out South Florida. The legislative session is underway in Tallahassee. Is the LGBTQ plus community prepared? There's good news for America and bad news for Florida. The good news is Ron DeSantis won't be the next Republican president. The Hill has sources inside the Florida governor's campaign that say he'll drop out after the Iowa caucuses on Tuesday. Now, he's vehemently denied the rumor and says he is, quote, in it for the long haul, end quote. Check back with me here next Wednesday and we'll see. But even if he stays in the race, he's only delaying the inevitable. And that's good for America, but bad for the Sunshine State. An angry, embittered DeSantis could come back and continue his vile rhetoric and constitutionally unsound attacks on civil rights. There's a move to completely eliminate vote by mail, which would suppress Democrat votes. Another set of bills requires age verification on adult-oriented websites. Obviously, porn would be affected. States that have this are geofenced by some popular sites. But what is adult-oriented? Last year, it was drag entertainment and penguin books. Will videos discussing LGBT topics be banned next? will you need to tell Big Brother that you're watching this very show? The next few months are crucial. Out South Florida, we'll be following all legislative developments and their impact on the November election. And boy, I have to, and I'm working on a bigger piece. I want to get something out this week to just kind of say where we're at on the starting line. And I do not feel bullish on the LGBTQ plus community's readiness to fight this. Faye, how many marches have we been on in the last 6 months?
One.
How many fundraisers have you or I been asked to attend or host?
Too many.
Or anything like that. But we're not doing anything with what we're doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complaining about specific organizations. I'm not going to name check them here because I want to give everyone a chance to respond. But I'm not getting emails. I'm not getting flyers. I'm not getting invites. And this isn't me being, John Hayden's not invited. No, this is me being the press person who is supposed to be knowing about these things and covering them and telling you about them. And what I'm here to tell you right now is they aren't there. We need to organize. It's easy to say, well, we've got to vote. But as I mentioned, that may get even harder than it already is. We need to begin to organize. And I'm calling on our leaders in Tallahassee, in Orlando, in Tampa, St. Pete, down here. Please get your together because we need you.
You're scaring the shit out of me.
Good.
Because it's true. You're right. November will be here before you know it. You know, I mean, it's scary. It's really scary times. You know, do you think that they'll be able to eliminate the vote by mail?
Yes.
You think that will be done?
I think it can happen. It's been introduced. It has not started a committee yet. It has not started all of that. But yeah, it could pass.
It's a relatively new phenomenon to be able to vote by mail. I mean, that has not been around for it. People had absentee ballots that they put in by mail, but to not be away and actually do it, it's a new thing. So a new thing is something easy for them to actually get rid of easily. And again, these are all designed to stop voter involvement.
You know, I thought I'd be happier to hear that DeSantis wouldn't be our president. You know what I mean? Like I thought I'd be happier, but then he comes back to the House and abuses us.
We're gonna suffer his wrath.
But how much more?
And his retribution.
How much more? I'm a woman. If I get pregnant, I can't have an abortion, right? Trans people don't exist. LGBTQ plus kids can't say that they're gay at school, and the gay teacher can't use a kid's correct pronouns or anything. What else can he do to us?
He's a vindictive baby.
So there are too many balls in the air, I think, to be able to predict what's going to happen. Because, first of all, like I really wanted Ron DeSantis to be the nominee because I think he has the best chance of losing the election. So I definitely wanted him. So if he does announce his his failed campaign and he comes back to Florida and putting his full time here, I do think that the past 2 years he's been ridiculously pushing the boundary of what's constitutional, even though he knows some of what he was pushing was unconstitutional, was just to get the votes for the presidential race. So now that if he's out of that, I don't know if that's going to tamp down just a bit because he doesn't need to posture for the MAGA crowd. And once he's in Florida doing his thing, Donald Trump, if he gets the nomination, which he probably will, he's no friend to Ron DeSantis.
No.
I think he's going to be slapping him down left and right just for the fun of it, which will be somewhat of a help to all of us here.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know if he's going to have the same power coming back. And also, if he's trying to run for a re-election,
DeSantis?
No, he's termed out. He's termed out. Yeah. I don't know if he might want to do something else in politics. So I don't know what his strategy is going to be after the governorship. So he might try to be a little bit more on both sides to see whatever he's going to do.
But I hope you're right.
But he's lost the MAGA vote. That's done. So now he's got to appeal to a different audience.
Well, I'll tell you, in 2026, because this is all I have to do with my life. I know that Marco Rubio's Senate seat is up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And Rubio never said he wouldn't run for a third term, and then he did. So there could very well be an open seat in Florida. And much like Governor Scott did, finish out his last year and then springboard to the Senate. And you say
that's very possible.
Yeah, and you say he's lost the MAGA crowd. He's still got 60% of the vote in Florida in a statewide vote.
But do you think that was because of Donald Trump? If Donald Trump was opposing him when he was running, I don't think he would have gotten that vote.
I don't think he would have either.
No,
I think if Donald Trump loses this year, I think his influence by 2026 will be greatly diminished on who can run, especially in Florida.
Yeah,
that's just me.
There's so much to know. This
is
happen
how
either way. So don't get too down in the dumps about it.
But one thing to wrap this up, one thing to say though is that should Trump win the election, I would not be surprised if he put DeSantis in some position.
Yep.
In the
I don't know.
Really? I know.
I would not be surprised
at that either. I'm feeling 100%.
Because I think that if Trump were to win, there are enough of the mainstream Republicans who are really, they're just going with Trump because they have to. But they do want someone to have more of a future in the political party. And that, I think, would be a huge, terrible thing for all of us. If he gets a federal appointment, it will be awful.
He's already got a lot of people that are willing to just do what he says lockstep. I think those are the people. I think he's going to choose Stefanik for his vice president. I think that's why she has done the complete 180 from when she was the reasonable, person to work with both sides, and now she's crazy.
Now she's
Trump, so
lovely.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll follow that for sure. Trini, what's next, my friend?
What is swatting, and why is it getting so much worse and creating fear in the LGBTQ plus community? While the whole world was getting ready for Christmas and holiday celebrations, some were planning and plotting on swatting. Swatting is a criminal harassment tactic that involves false reporting in order to generate a police response. Since December, there have been widespread swatting threats made against political activists, politicians, and government buildings in the United States. The latest victim of this dangerous act was California Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis. San Francisco police went to Kounalakis' family's Pacific Heights home about 11:20 a.m. on December 31st after a swatting call reported a possible shooting. The incident came just days after Kounalakis pleaded with California Secretary of State Shirley Weber, a fellow Democrat, to remove former President Donald Trump from the state's primary ballot. New York Republican Brandon Williams also revealed that police from Auburn, New York had come to his home on Christmas Day after receiving a call claiming there was a crisis at his home. The Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott talked about being a target of a hoax call. A person made a call to the Naples Police Department claiming one man shot his wife with an AR-15 3 times while she was sleeping. Police said that within 15 minutes they had confirmed the report was false. The Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she too has been swatted, not 1, not 2, but 8 times. The Maine Secretary of State, Shenna Bellows, who ruled that Donald Trump was ineligible to appear on the state's 2024 primary ballot, was also a target of a swatting call, as per which an unknown male broke into her home in Manchester. Police responded but found no one inside the home. The law enforcement agency worries that swatting might get directed toward public places such as airports, schools, and even LGBTQ plus businesses and events. So I was reading about this and watching some shows a couple weeks ago about swatting, and I wasn't too sympathetic when it was Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I'm not
gonna, but I did think when that was happening to her eight times, I'm like, what is wrong with your local police department that you don't have a catalog of who are your public officials, your judges, or, and after the first or second time, there should be somewhat of a registry. And then I found that there isn't communication between the federal level and the local level, and even the state level, to kind of create a database for people who might likely be, getting hoaxed or swatted. So it is a hugely dangerous thing. But police officers, they do need to have some way of knowing who in the community is a person that is either famous or a person who is a target of hate crimes. So I think it's terrible on both sides. The fact that we have been, that we're talking about these issues, all of this, frickin' Donald Trump. History books, why all of this has, come to the forefront. And then, of course, the shooting stuff, that's not him. That is our culture, and that's our gun culture. That's my side thing that I'm not going to get into. But why we even believe this, and why we have to have all these guns drawn when we go to a residence to try to de-escalate a situation. Right. So it's a terrible thing, whether it happens on either side.
Look, swatting, listen, people have nothing else to do with their lives, right? I mean, go freaking get a hobby, mother effers. I mean, come on. So I had first learned about swatting from the gaming community, right? So gamers are real, they're they're very competitive against each other, right? So they would start, if they wanted to beat another gamer, they would send the cops into the other gamer's house. And then once they saw the cops in through the video, through the camera, then they would win or whatever, you know? Countless man hours, countless law enforcement hours lost, you know,
the expense, right.
you know, countless investigations to try to find out where the phone call came from and IP addresses and all that kind of stuff. But mainly, you know, someone is really in danger and needing these cops, you know, with all their manpower.
Because it becomes
and they're there at some kid's house.
It becomes a boy who cries wolf situation in that one moment when they really should be there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just unbelievable.
And also, it's another example of how everything in the last 10 or 20 years has just ratcheted up. It used to be if you were going to do something bad after someone's house, you would order 10 pizzas delivered to
toilet paper and the trees.
You know, and those were the worst things. But now you're bringing in these incredibly powerful, expensive teams into people's homes and into people's neighborhoods that are placing everybody at risk. So what's next?
Yeah, I mean, and I like the idea of what you said, but the thing is, these terrorists, because that's essentially what they are at this point.
It's terror.
They're going to be like, okay, we've swatted her 3 times in 10 days, so the police aren't going to become as forceful the next time, and that's when they go in and take hostages or do their bad things. And I hope I'm very wrong about that.
Hope so too.
But I'll tell you, this is not only dangerous, as you said, it's, you know, taking resources that should be elsewhere. It's hurting our police, and these people who are doing this are allegedly law and order, but it's putting them in danger because every time they go on a call, every time the sirens come on, they're at an increased risk of danger.
Of course.
And I don't love, but I appreciate in this story that we mentioned that many Republicans are getting this too. And this is, if you're not Republican enough, they will turn on you. Hitler had the brown shirts. Trump has the red hats. And to all those people who think Trump will be fine and we can just put a little supervision on him, I would suggest that you go back and look what happened to Ernst Röhm and his fellow brown shirts, because that's waiting to happen for you. Trump's attorneys say the president can order political assassinations on U.S. soil. And that's his attorney. And Trump wasn't standing up to say, oh, no. He was just, this will be good.
Stick to Ding Dong Ditch, y'all.
What's next, Hunter?
Next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Joan Rivers Tributes, starring Joe Posa and Seth Sikes, comes to the Sunshine Cathedral Center for Performing Arts on Saturday, January 13th. Joe Posa and Seth Sikes will reunite for a performance of tributes, an homage to iconic female legends, on Saturday, January 13th at the Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts. This will be an 18-plus event of comedy and song. This showcase, produced by the accomplished duo, unites 2 worlds of performance art: female impression and live song. Joe Posa will impersonate Joan Rivers, Barbra Streisand, and Liza Minnelli, while Seth will enchant audiences with his soulful voice, singing nostalgic melodies by Judy Garland, Bernadette Peters, and other artists. Sikes has been a very popular New York cabaret star. The cleverly choreographed show includes duets with Seth Sikes and Joe Posa as Barbara and Liza. Both Seth and Joe have been selling out shows all over the United States, Mexico, and London. Sunshine Cathedral Center for Performing Arts is a nonprofit experience supporting the community. It is also America's leading LGBTQ+ live entertainment series. Further details on the event are available at sunshinecathedral.drl.org. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It's sunshinecathedral.org.
Perfect. So what do you think?
I think it's great. I've seen both of them perform, and both are absolutely amazing. And again, to bring the history piece into it, I mean, these are true icons from the gay LGBTQ world from the last quarter of the 20th century. And so I think to bring them back, and also to bring their music back and their songs back, and to also have them as individual performers as well too, because they truly are not trying to fool anybody. No. That nobody believes it's Barbra Streisand or that.
Wait, what?
I know, John, we had to tell you that.
You know, I mean, I don't know about you folks, but I miss Joan Rivers terribly.
Oh my God.
Folks, I have a show called the FayWhat Show here on the Happening Out Television Network, and my whole entire show is in bed, and that was inspired by Joan Rivers. That was her stick, and I miss her on the red carpet after all during the awards, right? Like, she would give it to them hard. She didn't give a crap, Girl, what the hell were they wearing? So Joe Posa, since I love Joan Rivers so much, I have seen various people play the role, right? No one does it as good as Joe. Yeah. Joe it's just one of those things where he encompasses Joan. He is Joan Rivers when he gets on that stage. And so I'll be there on Saturday because I'm super excited. We're celebrating Cal, our fellow anchor, and my bestie's his birthday is this weekend. Cal. And that's what he wants. He wants to go to Joe Posa and see Joan Rivers. You know what I mean? Wow. What's a gay boy to do, right? So of course we're going to go to that. And I mean, how amazing. It's going to be an amazing show. They are both so incredibly talented, and we're just blessed that they get to come and entertain us.
Well, it sounds like a gay old time will be had by all who attend.
They were on her and Melissa were on the red carpet for so many years, and while they were fun to watch during the show, the next day E would do a 60-minute or 90-minute recap of the Oscars of them sitting there and reliving it, and that was appointment television. And it's one of my great regrets that I never got to interview Joan. I interviewed thousands of people and icons, but I never got to interview Joan. But I understand. I interviewed Melissa.
I was going to say that. Oh my God, I was going to say that. I interviewed Melissa. I got that as close as I got.
Well, Melissa would still do press, but Joan doesn't need to bother with tiny little affiliates in far-flung South Florida. And that's totally cool. Girl, rest in peace. I love you. But that's one of the things that I'm really sad about, is that I never got to actually interview her, even by satellite. I would have taken 4 minutes, just talking to her over a monitor. She was amazing. She was never mean incorrectly.
Okay, yeah.
Everything she said came from a kernel of truth. Yeah. Or more.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, and if we go back and remember, Joan Rivers was the first woman to be given a talk show.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then everybody blackballed her because she took that talk show, including Johnny Carson, who is one of my ultimate inspiring figures of life. But, that was the world that Joan walked into. And she was ready to fight with all the boys.
Well, she had hoped that she would get the Johnny Carson gig, and he, I don't know, betray is kind of a strong word.
But it's right on point.
But he didn't give it to her, and that's why she went to another network.
Well, so Joe Posa and Seth will be this Saturday. Make sure you get your tickets because they're definitely going to sell out. It's going to be a good old time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Next, let's queer up breaking news. Stonewall Pride survives last-minute challenge from new Wilton Manors Pride. Queer News Tonight has been following developments for the 2024 Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival. In mid-December, an email suggested that the city of Wilton Manors would not be issuing a parade festival permit until a $45,000 bill for BSO law enforcement was paid. That email became public to other community interests, and then comments began circulating that Stonewall was in jeopardy of not happening. This resulted in another organizing group forming to host a Wilton Manors Pride event. Yesterday, the City Commission met to discuss a $50,000 title sponsorship of Stonewall Pride. The new group, called Wilton Manors Pride, spoke at the Commission meeting asking for 15 minutes to be added to the agenda to talk about their plans. Stephen Crawford, Chuck King, Gary Van Horn, spoke about concerns of cancellation of Fort Lauderdale Pride and that the group had formed to help ensure there was a Pride in Wilton Manors. When you go to the web address, wiltonmaноrspride.org, it then takes you to flockfestevents.org. The Commission discussed becoming title sponsors of Stonewall Pride. Stonewall Pride President Jeff Sterling spoke and was asked questions by commissioners. Most questions focused on how to better improve Stonewall Pride, admission and management of gates, and organizational issues. Sterling reminded the Commission that Pride faced multiple significant issues for the 2023 event, including the politics in Florida, such as anti-LGBTQ+ and drag issues at the parade and festival. He also referenced the tremendous weather event that caused significant rains. He estimated that Stonewall lost approximately $130,000 in gate receipts because of weather and a reduction in participants. In discussing his city sponsorship, Commissioner Paul Rowley said during the meeting, quote, "With what we are facing from Tallahassee and the LGBTQ+ community, one bad year is not a huge issue. Stonewall is Wilton Manors. This is no time to be bickering," end quote. Commissioner Mike Brocky said, quote, "I've asked to sponsor Stonewall over the years. It's our city that looks really great or really bad. Other cities would have supported this," end quote. Commissioner Chris Caputo focused on the finances and how to make Stonewall work. He especially zeroed in on finding ways to increase revenue from ticket sales, cashless systems, and more. Commissioner Don D'Arminio asked many questions about gate admissions, creation of separate lanes to speed access, and improve financial transactions. Perhaps the most significant question was if Stonewall Pride was in any jeopardy. The answer from Wilton Manors Mayor Scott Newton made it clear. He said, quote, "I don't know where all this started. Stonewall Pride is not in trouble. This was never going to happen. This city would have this event. We're in January, starting over with just 4 months. Time is short. The best is to let Stonewall happen," end quote. Addressing the idea that there would be another Pride organization or group, Newton spoke directly to those in attendance, saying, quote, "If you wanted to do something, you should have started in October. If Jeff can't do this, we are here. But now you are saying we are taking it over," end quote. Many cities provide financial sponsorship of their major events and prides. The commission concluded to formulate the $50,000 sponsorship that would be dedicated to public safety, require a bond for the event, and other procedures for the benefit of the city to ensure continued success of Stonewall Pride. They will vote on that sponsorship in a future city commission meeting. At the end of the meeting, Commissioner Marky asked Mayor Newton if he would allow the request for the new Pride organization to outline and speak what their plans and requests are. Newton invited them to speak. Stephen Crawford stood and replied, no. So it seems Stonewall Pride is in place and moving forward. I have to say that one of the things that I love about living in South Florida is that our Pride season runs from January, beginning with My Hollywood Pride, and runs through October with Miami Shores Pride. Yes. So I'm so relieved to know that while other regional prides have been canceled or rescheduled, Stonewall Pride's future in Wilton Manors has been secured, and we'll all be able to celebrate together on Wilton Drive in June.
Well, and I think that was why people were scared, because we lost Pride for Lauderdale this year, right? And then we also lost Gay Ocho down in Miami. So, I mean, I think people were afraid, you know? John, so Gregg gave us, you know, a rundown of everything that happened in the meeting, right? Yes. Can you give us a short synopsis? Like, I'm super curious as to how, you know, how were the energies in there? How was Scott Newton about this? How was Chris Caputo? Like, how were they sideswiped? Were they surprised? What was the collective thought there?
People knew what was coming. This was on the agenda. The new group, Wilton Manor Pride, filed a permit yesterday, I want to say morning, but just hours before the actual city commission. They were literally coming in essentially at the last minute, although I think you can still submit permits. But this is this particular event is a very muddled issue. And if you read my article that's going to be out in Out South Florida tomorrow and online, I do it in a different way than I normally write. I put a question and then I answer it, because they didn't vote, or technically they didn't vote on or discuss a permit. They didn't vote on anything. But the permit and the sponsorship are inextricably linked, because if they say we're going to give $50,000 to Stonewall, that's basically saying we're going to give you the permit. Now, as Gregg mentioned in his excellent blow-by-blow of the hour and 25-minute discussion, there are a lot of strings attached. Okay. There's going to be an audit of Stonewall Pride's books after the event. They want to make sure that organizers, including Jeff Sterling, do more to control gate revenue. Last year, I was shocked to learn the amount. Apparently, up to 40% of gate revenue is missed because people sneak in. And it's a very porous. We're a street. We're not in a closed-in park. And Jeff told me afterwards that they have, now that they're pretty much going to get the permit, they're going to move forward with some of these buys. They're going to buy like those plastic fences, those plastic web fences that you can unroll. They're going to buy those and attach them also with, I think, some metal barricade on top of the barricades that are already on the side streets to try and force people to go around and go to one of the several paying gates.
I think also another issue was that most of the people in the parade, it's a very highly populated parade. There's a lot of people in the parade. And a lot of those people would just come in to the parade, to the festival after without paying. Also, because they were in the parade already.
Yeah, the commissioners also want a shorter parade. And I'm kind of sympathetic to this issue because, like,
how long was it last year?
An hour
45, a couple of
2 hours.
I was up there a couple of hours.
It was a lot of parading. And I was shocked when Newton was like, maybe we could have fewer of the politicians in cars. Politicians never say, give me less exposure. So he did.
How about the part where they said this is not the time for bickering? Like, how did that come across for some? I mean, it's true. It's an election year. We've got a lot of stuff going on, you know? I mean, did anybody address that they were bickering?
No.
Okay.
No, they just said it was time to end it, but nobody, you know. And it was very civil during the although I will tell you, it was very uncivil afterwards.
Was it?
There
in the
were
parking lot where they're like, looks.
Fisticuffs.
There were texts and emails flying.
No.
People calling other people liars. People saying that they exaggerated certain things. I mean, it's
catty.
It's catty.
Catty gay boys. All right.
But so one thing. I'm sorry, Faye. One thing before we move on. The money for security is usually paid up front before the festival, and Wilton Manor or Stonewall Pride did that last year. The $40,000, which is really like $35,000 for police and about $6 or $7 for Fort Lauderdale Fire. They those bills came in several months after the festival. Jeff didn't have those bills. I think he knew they may come, but he didn't have them. And of course, when most nonprofits do an event on an annual basis, they don't have a lot of money at the start of the cycle. And that's in October. That's where this is. You know, you're starting to bring in sources and things, which is another reason I think that the city was willing to be a little bit more forgiving once that came out. It's not like they said for months, no, we're not going to pay this. No, we're not going to pay this in July. No, we're not going to pay this in August. They didn't get the bill until September or October.
And again, the weather was horrible last year. They did lose a lot of money, right? Again, deal with the people that you already know, right? Instead of bringing somebody new in. But they did give them the opportunity to put in a bid next year if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Right? All right. So I asked Stephen Crawford for a statement, and he wrote a lot. But I'm just going to read you the end of it, okay? Wilton Manors Pride remains steadfast in our commitment to supporting Stonewall Pride as needed in the future. Positive outcomes include a collective effort to elevate the Pride event while fostering transparency and accountability for all involved. All right. So accountability, I think, is what really is going to happen. You know, like now Stonewall has eyes on them, checking everything that they do. You know, I mean, it's going to be a wonderful Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival. June 15th. June 15th. I'll be up there in the main stage with Al commentating the parade. We're going to have a great time. Buy your tickets before you get there so you don't have to pay the $10 at the door. And thank God, we know it's going to happen and we're good. Yeah. Right?
Sure.
Next.
Check back with me.
Keep on with the story for sure.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus one, just 1 minute news when we queer up gaming. Games so gay as Dungeons & Dragons becomes LGBTQ plus staples. Dungeons & Dragons has moved out of your mom's friend's basement and into the spotlight. Whether it's the 2 feature-length films, the 1980s animated series, or the novels, it's a popular enough to gamers that it gets its own Wikipedia article on pop culture influence. Now, it's coming to Wilton Manors and surrounding areas, especially within the LGBTQ plus community. This private Facebook group titled Wilton Manors Dungeons, Dragons, and Daddies is an example of the queer fan base of the game. The craze for role-playing games is not just limited to Dungeons & Dragons. There are various video games and cosplay like Comic-Con that are gaining popularity in our community. After entertainment and sports, gays are all set to conquer the gaming industry.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up gay culture. More than 35 watched this beautiful moment of a gay surprise marriage proposal. It was a match made in heaven, or at least on social media. Ezekiel Cieslak and Isaiah Griffith noticing a photographic mutual attraction in 2022 took a leap of faith and messaged each other on Instagram. Before long, virtual flirting became real dates as the young influencers both resided in Phoenix at the time. The duo eventually led to creating a TikTok video that went viral that has more than 35 million views. Both Ezekiel Cieslak and Isaiah Griffith are social influencers and have a show called The Zizzy Show. The couple is planning to get married this year, and looking at the popularity their video has got, it will not be a surprise if they share some sweet wedding moments and people go crazy over them too. It will be fun if the couple decides to get married in Florida.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the USA view. Move over, Gen Z. Gen Alpha is going to rule the LGBTQ plus world. The recent Household Pulse survey showed that Gen Z young adults are much more likely to report identifying as either trans or non-binary than any other generations. Gen Z adults who identify as LGBTQ+ have increased from 10.5% in 2017 to 20.8% in 2021. But Gen Alpha is expected to be more inclusive, open, and aware of gender identity and sexual orientation. Gen Alpha is most likely to hold more progressive views on issues like climate change, race, and politics, pushing the envelope even further than Gen Z. Gen Alpha is the new designation of the new generation. Simply put, Generation Alpha is defined as those born from 2010 to 2024. More than 2.8 million are born globally every week. When they have all been born, that'll be in 2025, they will number almost 2 billion. Okay? 2 billion, the largest generation in the history of the world. Insider Intelligence reports that Gen Alpha parents have already begun talking with their children about their own personal mental health. 46% have. Their own personal body image, 45%. Race and racism, 34%. The environment, climate change, etc., 34%. And gender norms, 27%. No wonder fearful conservatives are trying to slow the Gen Alpha train from leaving the station by using laws like Don't Say Gay.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up business. Move over, Marky Mark, the bare new Calvin Klein commercial. In 1992, Kate Moss and then 21-year-old rapper known as Marky Mark, who then launched his acting career as Mark Wahlberg, posed topless for Calvin Klein, and their life-size billboard in Times Square made people go crazy. In 1993, the duo was in LA's Hollywood Bowl, and halfway down the runway, Marky's jeans fell, which Women's Wear Daily described as quite the show grabber. Something equally steamy is happening in Calvin Klein's world again. Jeremy Allen, recently who won a Golden Globe Award, of the Bear is now the new front of Calvin Klein underwear campaign, with some joking the photo art national landmark worthy. In the commercial, the Iron Claw star walks about New York City and climbs his way to the top of the building and rests on a couch with a view of the cityscape behind him. As a whole, the sex appeal of the campaign has sent the queer internet into a frenzy. Social media shares show gay fans blowing kisses and bowing down to the billboards of this campaign.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up religion. Evangelical meltdown in Madonna-like image as Lil Nas X channels gay Jesus in new song Photo. In 1989, Pepsi's controversial commercial featuring Madonna was broadcast. The song was Like a Prayer. Pepsi reportedly paid $5 million to partner with the brand. However, after religious groups condemned the song's music video, Pepsi nixed the ad. The video showed Madonna experiencing stigmata, kissing a black saint, and dancing in front of burning crossers, and it was loved and hated. It seems history is repeating itself with Lil Nas X at the center this time. He has recently announced his upcoming single, which will be out this Friday, January 12th, and it is called J. Christ. Nas says the single will be dedicated, quote, to the man who had the greatest comeback of all time, end quote. Lil Nas X has shared a few posts following the announcement, and after seeing them, many conservative Christians are coming for Lil Nas X, claiming that he is mocking Christianity. What do you think of Lil Nas X and his Christian era? That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, then share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and or Amazon Fire TV?
You better go, Lil Nas X. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
That's right, and I am your anchor, FayWhat! And on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the incredible anchors of Queer News Tonight, including TriniDaddy, John Hayden, Hunter Ohanian, and Gregg Shapiro, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. to our LGBTQ plus world. We wish you
good night.